Who's Nick Geoppo? What do you do?
A weight loss coach. He's a guy that grew up really overweight his entire life. I pulled out this little shitty camcorder and I said,
currently it is April 29th, 2019.
This is going to be my last diet ever. For the last 5 years, I've lost 50 plus pounds every year and gained it back. This time I'm going to lose it. And let me tell you, what a fucking feeling to bet on yourself in that way. Go against what everybody thinks you should be doing and then actually do the thing you said you were going to do. And this is where the story starts getting really crazy.
Why do you think most diets fall short for most people?
Because they don't address the reason why you became fat in the first place.
How could couples help each other keep the weight off?
Set some goals around sex. These are something that people don't like to talk about. How different sex is after you lose weight. Not just because you feel better, but because of the literal physiology of your body being different. And if you're somebody that is in a relationship and you're both overweight.
What do you think about Ozempic?
Hot topic.
What about the body positivity movement?
I used to look in the mirror and say, I love myself. You are enough. And I'm 275 pounds, hating my job, my girlfriend, drinking booze, smoking weed, and playing video games and watching Netflix. This idea of telling yourself that you love yourself when you don't is actually creating distrust with yourself. And if you want to permanently change your life.
Welcome to the Sacred Thomas Podcast.
Hold on real quick. I noticed that only 3% of the people who watch this channel are actually subscribed. Could you do me a favor and hit the subscribe button? It helps the channel tremendously. And the bigger that the channel gets, the better the podcast will get. I appreciate you and enjoy the video.
We're live. What's up? Sitting down with Nick Geoppo.
What's going on, brother?
That's it.
Honored to be here.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming out, man. We met at a retreat.
Yeah, a couple months ago at a men's retreat.
Yeah, shout out Michelle.
Shout out Michelle Flores.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was a good experience. I feel like we all needed it, and I think I was the only one about the ice bath.
Was that your first time ice bathing?
Nah, maybe like my third or fourth or something. I just don't like the cold. But anyways, I want to jump into you. Like, I want to dive straight in.
Yeah.
For the people in my audience that don't know, who are you? Who's Nick Geoppo? What do you do?
Nick Geoppo is a weight loss coach. He's a guy that grew up really overweight his entire life in a single. Let's just get right into it, man. I grew up in a single mom household. And it was me, my mom, my sister, 3 female dogs, 3 female cats. So I was literally the only dick in the house for my whole life from 14 and onwards. And there was a lot of issues that came with that led to me formulating addictions. So for me, it was playing a bunch of video games and eating a lot of bullshit processed food at a really young age. And growing up being so fat, I was the worst at everything, man. I was the kid that was picked last for basketball, picked last for soccer, like C team equivalent my whole life, never started. I was only put in the game when we were up so much it didn't matter, or down so much that it didn't matter and there was nothing on the line. And when I started playing video games, I love talking about this on a podcast because it's just so boyish and it's so not relevant to my life anymore. But this is like the biggest part of my story. I started playing 2,000 to 3,000 hours per year of video games when I was in high school, which is like more than a full-time job.
How'd you calculate that?
It tracks it for you.
Oh, wow. Okay, good.
And so well over 40 hours a week.
Wow.
And became really competitive. This was the first time that I was ever good at anything, was playing these games on the computer with these people that I had never met in my entire life, right? And through that, had gained a shit ton of weight. So by the time I'm 18, I start getting ready to go to college. And I'm like, okay, I want to have the real college experience and I'm going to go be a real man. So I threw all the games away and I went off to school in Washington State, which is where I grew up. And when I went to college, I was probably 190 pounds, 6 foot tall, like not a fat guy, but couldn't do a single push-up, right? I mean, you could just push me over with your pinky finger, not a single ounce of muscle on my whole body. And I went off to college, and for the first time in my life, didn't have anything comfort-wise to cope with all of the negativity that I had felt for my whole livelihood, the way that I grew up, the fact that I had kind of just wasted all of these years of high school doing dumb shit and had nothing to show for it. And I turned to the cafeteria. And I started my freshman year of college at 18 at 190 pounds and ended that year at probably 240, 250, gained 50, 60 pounds in 1 year. And I come back home for the first summer. I'm 19 years old. And I'm like, okay, had I not been fat, I probably would have had a way better experience. I would have had more success with women. I would have been the cooler guy at the part, like all the things you want when you're 18, 19 at college parties, right? And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go on a diet and lose some weight. And I went on the chicken and broccoli diet. You ever done something really strict like that where you're just dialed into one, eating the same thing over and over again?
Never.
And so I went on the chicken broccoli diet, lost 60 pounds that summer, and came back to college as a 19-year-old. And the beauty of losing weight is that everybody sees it and everybody's really affirming to, wow, like, how did you do that? What did you do? And it's this really, people get inspired and get motivated by it because obesity is an issue that everybody fucking deals with, right? And I went back to college and had the best college experience ever for 30 days because I was feeling really good about myself. And I just went back to the way that things were. Gained all the weight back again, another 50, 60 pounds. Next summer, lost 50, 60 pounds. And I did that cycle every single year for 5 years, from ages 18 to 23. And what that did was I developed a really negative relationship with food. And I started only feeling good when I was making progress on the scale. So my summers were amazing. My school years sucked for 5 years in a row. And I get to 23 years old, graduated, and stayed in my hometown, was in this relationship that I wasn't really that happy with, but like, what am I going to do? I'm a 260-pound guy that sweats through his shirts walking up a staircase and can't hold a conversation without getting out of breath. So it's like the things that I'm going to have to change about my life to actually have the partnership that I want with the type of person that I want to be with. There's so much to overcome. Wasn't even something that I could consider. So I was settling in every single domain of my life. My relationship, hated my job, hated where I lived, and I was just fucking miserable, man. And I didn't have a summer to lose the weight, so I kept gaining after I graduated, and I hit about 275. And I go into work one day, working this just miserable job where we're just calling 100 calls per day, just cold calling all day long for this recruiting agency. It sucked the soul out of me. And I go into work, and this was the first moment in my life where I was ever like, holy shit, I really put myself in a bad situation and I don't know how to get out. And I'm looking around at all of my coworkers that are 10, 15 years older than me, and I just see misery. Everyone's fat. Everyone's talking about the spam caller from India last night and the traffic and the weather and just bitching about things. And I'm going, oh. It was like I looked into a mirror of my own future and my chest started pounding. I felt my heart beating out of my eyes, and my shirt is just so tight. I literally have a rip in the crotch of my pants. My shirt is so tight that I can't breathe. So I laid down on the floor in this cubicle environment, and everybody's freaking out. I'm just full hyperventilating, no idea what's even happening. And I was having a panic attack, right? I thought I was having a heart attack. So I'm screaming, going, I'm having a heart attack. And I'm 24 with my gut hanging out over my belt. It's like just the most ridiculous image. I would love to have a picture of that. And I go to my doctor. My doctor goes, well, what's wrong with your life? Like, what's going on? And I tell him everything. He goes, well, sounds like you're anxious and depressed. So we're going to put you on this medication. And the medication was Xanax. So I'm 24, hate my life. All of my free time is back to watching Netflix, smoking weed, drinking booze, not being a good partner to my girlfriend of 2 years, have no close friends. And my doctor tells me I'm feeling anxiety and depression, that I should take some medication and take Xanax every time that I feel that anxiety. It's like, how often do you think that I'm feeling that anxiety? every single minute of every single day, right? Because that's my body's way of telling me that things need to change. So I sat there for 3 days and I went on the Xanax bender and was just taking way too much Xanax. And after 3 days of just sitting there, I'll never forget the third day. I go to bed with Rolos on my chest, you know, the candies with the little caramels. And I'm laying, I'm laying there, and I'm laying in the bed eating them. Yeah. And then I wake up the next morning with caramel smeared all over my bed and all over my chest hair. And I just remember laughing. And I'm like, the fact that I thought that was funny at the time is a problem, right? Yeah. I woke up, showered myself off, and I'm looking in the mirror, and I did not recognize myself. It was the first time ever where I was so strung out and I was so fat, I just didn't recognize who I was. It was like I was looking at a stranger, and my mind just felt so disconnected from my body. And I pulled out this little shitty camcorder and I said, today's April 29th, 2019, and I'm going to change my life because I'm fucking miserable. And I quit my job. I left my girlfriend. I dumped all the Xanax down the drain. I moved from Washington to Oregon alone, a city where I didn't know anybody. And I went into 6 months of basically isolation outside of work. And my goal was to lose 75 pounds in 6 months. This is going to be my last diet ever. For the last 5 years, I've lost 50 plus pounds every year and gained it back. This time I'm going to lose it. I want to be all alone. I want no influence from anybody else. It's just me versus myself. And I locked myself in this room for almost half of a year. No friends, no nothing. And lost 75 pounds to the pound on day 180 because I was so specific with what I was eating and counting every single calorie. I lined it up so I would hit my goal on the 6 months to the day. Wow. And let me tell you, what a fucking feeling to bet on yourself in that way. Go against what everybody thinks you should be doing, and then actually do the thing you said you were going to do. Yeah. Like the most alive I've ever felt, right? Now I'm this skinny, not healthy, I'm this skinny guy living in this big city, single, with no friends. And I'm like, oh, now I get to go live the life that I've been waiting to live this whole time. This is what I always wanted. So I just went out into Portland, Oregon is where I was living at the time. Started dating, started partying, started making friends, and I'm living the lifestyle, man. I just lost 75 pounds in 6 months. Have you ever met someone that lost 75 pounds in 6 months? Like, that was my attitude towards people. And started meeting people, started having a great time. And a month later, I get back on the scale and I'd gained 10 pounds back. And I'm like, I am fucked. But at least I know my problem. Most people don't even know their own problems. So for me, I'm willing to do this every year. I accept that. And I'm just going to have great summers every year. That was my mindset. I'm like, I'll enjoy 3-4 months a year after I lose weight, and I'll just keep gaining the weight back in. But those 4 months are going to be amazing, right? And I just sat in that for a couple of weeks, and I'm laying there in bed just defeated. I'm like back to smoking weed, drinking, doing stupid shit. And I'm scrolling on YouTube. I see this video about this guy talking about how he lost 110 pounds and ran all these 100-mile races and then became a Navy SEAL. And I'm going, what is this? Like, what the fuck is this story, right?
Goggins. Huh?
And so I go and I listen to this podcast. And I'm like, is that the guy from Fear Factor? It was Joe Rogan. I had no idea who he was, right? This was end of 2019. And I listened to this full show, David Goggins won on Joe Rogan. And it's like a 3-hour episode. Listen to it. First podcast episode I'd ever listened to. And I go, that's the most bullshit story I've ever heard. But that's great. You know, like how inspiring, but really unlikely. And I could not accept it as reality because I couldn't see that in myself. So I just closed it. Every day that I open the internet, it's David Goggins this, David Goggins that. It's just all over my feed on all social media platforms. So the world's telling me, right, this is the story you're supposed to be listening to. Yeah. So I go listen to his audiobook for Can't Hurt Me. This was the first book I'd ever read. And then I read his book and he's talking about how he had never read a book before. And I'm like, that seems like a weird synchronicity, right? Yeah. And he was 24 when he lost weight. I'm like, that's a weird synchronicity. So was I. Grew up with, last time he saw his dad was when he was 14 or 15. Like, that was a weird synchronicity. Same. And I started really seeing myself in him. And he's talking about running all these races, right? And my thing was, I had never actually had a reason to keep the weight off. So I would just lose weight to go have a good time. Then I'd go have a good time and be like, through having a good time, I would keep gaining the weight back. So I was stuck in this vicious cycle of restricting myself and then just making up for the restriction with doing whatever I wanted. And when I listened to his story, I was like, I'm going to go run a half marathon. So I signed up for a half marathon. I'd never ran a mile in my whole life and gave myself 4 weeks to train. Mile 10 of this half marathon, broke my foot, still finished in 2 hours and 13 minutes. It was like the best moment of my life up until that point, right? And I finished this race. I was in a boot for a month and a half because of my foot. But now I had a reason to keep the weight off. It was to become a distance runner. So I'm having an identity shift from gaming addict to alcoholic, not really, but guy that's drinking all the time, to partier, to fat guy, to weight loss guy, to now I'm a runner. I'm like, that's an identity I can really get behind, right? And came out, ran another half marathon a month later, and then I signed up to run a marathon, but COVID happens. And in Portland, COVID, it was against the law to be outside without a mask on for like 18 months. So all races are off, right? And I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I just kept running. And for a year, I'm running 40, 50 miles every single week. And I'm a real runner, man. I'm this guy that's lost 80, 90 pounds. And now I'm just running like a bat at it. I'm the white Goggins. That's what's going through my head, right? I'm white David Goggins.
Yeah.
And while all this is happening, everyone thinks I'm really healthy because I'm skinny. But what's actually happening is I'm eating bullshit constantly. Like I'm getting Red Robin delivered DoorDash every night. I'm getting Dairy Queen Blizzards every other night for 6 months on end. And I'm just white knuckling my results through distance running. So I'm living in the discipline of over-exercise. People say you can't out-exercise a bad diet. That's not true. You absolutely can if you make it a lifestyle. But most people don't do that, right? But you can, and that's what I was doing. And I woke up one morning and I was like, I got to run a marathon. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I got to do it. And I drove out to this track downtown Portland with 2 gallons of water and a Quest bar and no electrolytes, no nothing, right? There's a little porta potty bathroom right there. And I'm like, I'm set. A track is 1/4 of a mile. Marathon's 26.2 miles. So I'm going to run 105 laps around this track by myself with nobody out here, no music, no earphones. And I get 18 miles into this run and I sit down to take a little pebble out of my shoe. My foot is all swollen and my toes are turning all black and bloody. And I just started crying. And it was the most emotional experience of my life where I was like, I'm done. And I just got up and I started walking away from the track, just in hysterics as a 24, 25-year-old, just full crying. I have no idea why I'm crying, but I'm like, it started reminding me of every time that I ever quit on 5 to 6 years of losing weight and then gaining it back, saying that I was going to keep the weight off, but lying to myself, saying that I'm going to run this marathon and then quitting 18 miles into 70 laps into 105 laps, right? And this was the first moment in my life where I ever realized I can decide to be a different person. I can consciously decide to just become a different person right now. And I did. It was the first moment in my life where I ever went, I'm gonna turn around and finish. And I ran the last 8 miles of this track in the most intense pain of my entire fucking life. It's 105 degrees outside. My piss is brown. It's not like I'm dehydrated. It's like I'm having an actual kidney issue. My pee is the color of a brown crayon. I'd never experienced so much discomfort in my urinary tract. My whole body is lit up. My spine, my neck, my back, my feet are bleeding. Toes are all blistered. And as I'm running, I realized that I had never come to terms with the things that led to me being fat in the first place. So all of these traumas throughout my whole life, I had never actually dealt with, and they're all coming at me like Star Wars credits. And the only way that I can keep going is just by continuously addressing every single one. It was the most enlightening experience for me. It was like I felt like I met God. God was there running with me, and ran the last 8 miles of this race, and the most intense high, like I was playing myself in the third person, and I really broke myself down to a gram of dust and just figured out who I was for the first time. And that was the first time I'd really exceeded my own expectations. And I'm laying there on the track by myself, just crying, man, for hours, right? It was the most intense experience of my life, and I built a lot of confidence. And that confidence came from when I'm running, I can't hide from who I actually am. It becomes really clear to me who I am and what the issues in my life are when I'm running. There's no noise to drown it out. So I ran that marathon. It was life-changing, and moved across the country a couple times in 2020, 2021 for work, and decided I'm going to be an ultra marathon runner. And I'm all or nothing. I'm going all in. I'm going to run 100-mile plus races. Where are all the ultra marathon runners? They're all in Austin, Texas. So can my job get me to Austin? No. Quit that job. Betting on myself again. Move down to Austin. We're making it happen. I'm going to run a 100-mile race, right? Come down here, sign up to run a 50-mile race end of 2022. And I go into my doctor to establish care with it, like a first appointment, right? And my doctor, who is 300 plus pounds, and I've always had an issue with my doctors being overweight because it triggers something in me where I'm like, come on. And that same doctor that had prescribed me Xanax was also 300 plus pounds. So I'm like, when I met my doctor, I'm like, okay, here we go again, right? He gives me an EKG where they connect the little things on to your chest, looks me dead in the eye after 10 seconds and goes, you need heart surgery. And my first thought was, I'm so done listening to fat doctors, and I absolutely don't need heart surgery. I've been running 50 miles a week for a long time. Now I'm 3 years into maintaining my results at this point, right? I go see a cardiologist the next day, another cardiologist the next day. Everyone's like, you need heart surgery. And I got diagnosed with this thing called Wolff-Parkinson's White syndrome, which is an electrical issue where I'm prone to going into exercise-induced cardiac arrest, and nobody would have known why I died. So race is off. 2 weeks before this 50-mile race, everything's off. And a 2-month waiting list, 6-7 week recovery, go get heart surgery. And I'm just like, that's just my life, man, because the amount of effort that I put into getting here, no one has any idea the amount of time that I spent with myself, the number of risks that I took to put myself in this position to be told I need heart surgery for a genetic issue that I've always had that had nothing to do with me ever being fat in the first place is bizarre. Yeah. And got back into running again. And it was just never the same. This was the beginning of January 2023. And I'd get an hour into running, my chest would start hurting and anxiety would start coming up. And there's just this reality of having your heart touched that feels uncomfortable when you're really pushing like that. And I just quit. I quit running, never ran again. This was 2 years ago. And realized through not running that I had actually never really addressed the fact that I still live a pretty unhealthy lifestyle. I still eat bullshit food. I'm still out drinking with my friends on the weekends. I'm still not really living aligned. Still don't really have much of a mission. I don't know what I'm doing, right? And my plan was, I know you come from the film industry. My plan was to hire a documentary crew that was going to film me training for a 100-mile race and then film the whole race. And I was going to release it as a Netflix-style documentary on YouTube. And that was going to be my coming out story. I'm the third person in the world to ever lose 100 pounds and run a 100-mile race, the youngest by 12 years. That was the world I was living in, right? So that whole dream dies. What am I going to do now? And I'm just living in Austin, making some money, living in a cool apartment. But for what? Like, all I ever wanted was to run a 100-mile race. And had to let the identity die again. Yeah. I'm not a runner anymore. Who am I going to be? And I spent 7-8 months, maybe a little longer, trying to figure out who I'm going to be. And this another low point, man. Had to let go of the friends that I was hanging out with that were doing dumb shit or making me want to do dumb shit. Had to let go of everyone that wasn't serving me, who I wasn't serving. It just went through another rebirth again as a 28-year-old, 2 years ago. And I found myself posting some videos on Instagram, and then they wouldn't take off, and then I would just delete it. And it was really inconsistent. And then I was like, what am I even doing, man? And I find myself at this yoga retreat. And maybe almost similar to where we met, a retreat like that, right? I find myself at this yoga retreat a year ago. And had a really intense connection with a woman at this retreat. And a couple days into spending time with her, she looks at me and goes, have you ever considered sharing your story? And when she said it to me, it wasn't her talking. It was like the world spoke through her. It didn't even sound like her voice. My whole spine just lit up and I went, oh, what did you just say? And with that one moment, I had lived the full experience of what would have happened had I just continued posting without quitting after a couple days. And I had lived, here I'm this guy that has had impact and helped everybody change their lives and helped people work through obesity in a way that was actually sustainable. In one moment, my whole life flashed before my eyes on what would have happened if I just didn't quit. And the next day I went and got a microphone, launched episode 1 of my podcast 12 hours after that had been activated in me from her, and released a couple episodes of this podcast. And I'm like, I got to get on Instagram. I've got to get on Instagram and TikTok, but I don't know how I'm going to do it. And this is where the story starts getting really crazy. Yeah. I picked up my phone one day and I went, when I was fat as fuck, I wish someone just told me that if you just eat more real food, you're going to feel better. If you eat more whole and natural foods, you're going to feel better. The cravings are going to go away. Just start there and see what happens. Posted it. Nobody watches anything, right? Next day I wake up and I say, when I was fat as fuck, someone told me that weight loss wouldn't make me feel happy. But the person that told me that was never fat. Stop taking advice from people that aren't fat. If you're fat, look for people that have tried to lose weight before and actually done it, right? Mm-hmm. Posted it. Nobody listens to it. Third day I wake up and I posted a reel. And I come back on day 4 and all the videos were just super viral. And every single day it was 500,000, 1 million, 3 million, 5 million, just right off the bat from the get-go. And overnight, I had become an influence and had thousands of people messaging me, asking me for advice on how to lose weight and keep the weight off. And they're like, I've never heard anybody so bluntly speak about what it actually takes to overhaul your relationship with food and overhaul your mindset and lifestyle changes. And that was just the most beautiful and blissful experience ever, because here I am, this guy looking for purpose, looking for legacy, looking for mission, looking for impact. And then there, just instantly, there it is, right? And it's the world is telling me, like, this is the direction that you need to go. And through this journey of this relationship that I was in at the time a year ago and everything that's happening online, I start getting introduced to spiritual community here in Austin. And I find myself in rooms with people that are really integrous and really badass entrepreneurs, people that have had a lot of positive impact in the world and live really aligned lifestyles. And I didn't even have the language at the time to say that, right? And I'm in this room going, everyone's talking about, past lives, meditation, mindfulness, breath work, yoga. And I really gravitated towards all those things, in that talking about those things and existing in that world, this world that I'm in right now, felt really natural because I had been unintentionally practicing these things my whole life. I had been practicing manifestation through taking videos of myself when I was fat, talking about what my life is going to be like as I continue to lose weight. I'm calling in the future, right? I've been practicing breath work and meditation and mindfulness through running longer than marathon distances with no earphones on. Like, you want to get to know who the fuck you really are? Don't do a medicine plant journey. Go run a marathon with no earphones when you're undertrained. You're going to figure out who the fuck you really are in a way that no medicine's ever going to teach you, right? So I'd had those experiences that helped me transition into this, more aligned lifestyle that I've been living for the last year or so. But as I found myself around more people that had seen so much success and had so much impact, and like so much impact on the world, right? People that represented ideas, I grew really insecure. And I realized that my whole life, I had felt like I wasn't enough. The way that I lost weight was by coming from this proving attitude of, I'm not enough. I want to prove that I am enough. Prove to my dad that he fucked up. Prove to my ex-girlfriend from however many years ago that she shouldn't have left me. And like all this just dumb shit that I was telling myself just to motivate myself to do stuff. And that's part of it. That's part of what David Goggins talks about. It's converting negative energy into positive action, right? That was the only energy that I knew how to use. So when I'm in a room of all these people that have accomplished all these great things that I haven't accomplished, my initial reaction is, I'm going to prove to you that I belong here. Let me prove to you that I belong here. And the way that I'm going to prove that is by massive massive output in a way that nobody could even predict possible for me. And the way that I showed that output was through social media. I'm going to keep going every single day. I'm going to keep going on this podcast, and I'm working a full-time job, and this, and my whole life was just go, 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 go. I'm going to prove that I belong here. And I just realized I was living out the same cycles again and again and again. And I'm feeling like I'm this really healthy guy, but recognizing that I'm actually still living in the journey of weight loss 5 years later, but just in comparing myself and wanting to prove that I'm good enough, because deep down I didn't really actually feel like I was. And I left that relationship out of my own insecurity. And that sucked. And that sucked. And I didn't have the tools to work through that. I didn't have the codes or the understanding of what was even really happening at the time. I couldn't figure out why it didn't feel right to me. But in leaving, was able to zoom out and see that I'm just reliving all the same patterns and actually address them. And this was 7 or 8 months ago now at this point, but really instrumental in my story. And I went into isolation again. I'm going to have so much impact. I'm going to become the most badass weight loss coach ever that the world has ever seen. I'm going to have more influence in this space than anyone in the world ever has. And I'm speaking from a place of knowing, because I did it, not from a place of studying. No one else in the world can speak about this the way that I can, because I did it, right? And locked myself in a room, launched a business, launched a coaching business that's been so impactful for my clients. It's been the most rewarding thing ever. It gives me chills. Even saying this to you on this podcast gives me chills, because I spent so long visualizing having a conversation about this. And now here we are talking about it, right? And my work now is in coming more from a place of positivity and recognizing that it actually makes me laugh when I say out loud that for so much of my life I didn't feel like enough, because I have an undeniable stack of proof that I know who I am, and that I actually am more than enough and very deserving of all of the abundance that the world has given me and will continue to provide for me over the coming years.
Yeah. Wow. There's a lot to unpack. There's a lot to unpack. And I know there's a ton of people. I mean, obviously you have a huge following that relate to that message. Now, for the people who are listening to this, and you went through, what is it? You said 5 summers, lost the weight, gained it back 5 times in a row. You've ran marathons. You've put your body through a lot more than most people are willing to do. So they're listening to this and thinking, I can't do that. How do you help your clients lose the weight and keep it off?
Yeah, don't do that. Don't take the exact path that I took. So what I did was I overexercised to lose weight. And then after I wasn't able to exercise, I addressed healthier eating. What I take my clients through is something that I call the common sense system. And part of the common sense system is starting what I call the common sense diet. So I help people work through eating healthier, more natural or real foods, like foods that we know are healthy, common sense, right? Meat, fruit, rice, vegetables, potatoes, dairy products. And then we start working on mindset issues, how to work through limiting beliefs, how to speak to yourself, how to look in the mirror and encourage yourself to do things, how to work through all of these. I've been doing this my whole life. How's this time ever going to be different? It's like we have all these beliefs about ourselves. We look at our own journeys of things that didn't work in the past. I help people reframe those experiences so that we can learn from them. We work through things like plateaus. We work through cleaning out your environment to set yourself up for success by surrounding yourself with the right type of things in your own house. So we really address every single issue that ever led to anybody quitting or not keeping the weight off in the long run. And instead of trying to have a perfect plan, we attack them one at a time. So I don't give a shit about weight loss. Every single fat person listening to this podcast has lost weight before. Every single fat person in the world has lost weight before. 99% of them. You don't need me or anybody else to tell you how to lose weight. But there's a difference between weight loss and sustainable weight loss. The difference with sustainable weight loss is, can you do the thing that you're doing for the rest of your life? Because if you can't do it for life, don't do it to lose weight. Eventually you will end up quitting and just gaining the weight back. So the question really becomes, what are you willing to do? And what I've been doing for years is existing in what I call the common sense diet, which is what I teach other people to do.
Okay. So the common sense diet, raw foods, just healthy, real foods.
Real foods and
Unprocessed foods.
and non-restriction. So there's 10 rules to the common sense diet. The 9th one is eat mom's apple pie when she makes it. So have you ever gone on a diet ever?
Man, luckily I was raised to eat pretty healthy.
You were always eating pretty good.
Yeah. I actually gravitate towards healthier foods.
Good for you.
But I still, I love ice cream.
Yeah.
I eat candy every now and then. But I eat mostly whole foods.
So most people that are fat have done a bunch of diets, right?
Yeah.
Keto, carnivore, intermittent fasting, 1 meal a day. If it fits your macros, counting every calorie in MyFitnessPal, juice cleanses, Weight Watchers, like all these different crazy things. And all of these are different forms of restriction. So the concept of eat mom's apple pie when she makes it is if you're on one of these diets and you go home for the holiday, your mom makes you some pie. Are you going to look at your mom and say, sorry, mom, I can't eat the pie because I'm on a diet? You're going to get smacked in the face, right? But what most people do is they either don't eat it or they end up eating 3 pieces and taking the pie home and just continuously eating it every day until it's gone. The solution to sustainable weight loss is to actually just find a balance and recognize that there is a world where you can just eat a normal serving of something when there is a celebration that causes for it. So the reason why this framework that I teach is so different and actually works is because people learn how to have a healthy relationship with the thing that they've been avoiding. So people might say, I'm going to lose weight by not ever eating out ever again. It's like at some point in your life, you're going to eat out again. And if it's a Thursday when you eat out, you're going to quit on your diet and then restart on Monday or the first of the month or the first of the year, the way that I did. And you live in the cycle forever. So what I help people do is address the thing through exposure therapy. So by actually practicing and putting yourself in positions where you previously would have fucked up and practicing not fucking up.
Okay. Now, for the people who, I like to say, I'm by no means a coach, but I just love the conversation around fitness, the conversation around healthy eating, lifestyle change. And I have this thought process through people I've spoken to. I like to tell people, you don't know how good you could feel until you get to that place that you haven't been yet. Because you've probably been there as a kid, but you forgot how good it felt to feel like when your body's running the way it should, right? What's the difference between, can you just break down how you feel now versus how you felt when you said 290 pounds?
Yeah, 275.
275?
Yeah. So people ask me all the time, would I ever gain the weight back? It's been 6 years since I've lost weight. And when people ask me that, it actually comes from a place of them not understanding the difference between being skinny and being healthy. There's a bunch of unhealthy skinny people running around, right? The reality is that when you're fat, all you want is to not be fat. You're not thinking, I want to be healthy. You're thinking, how do I not be fat anymore so I can look better and feel a little better and people treat you different, right? When you make the transition from eating 2,000 calories of high protein pizzas and Halo Top ice cream with a light beer and Diet Coke because it's lower calories and then hitting your protein metrics through protein bars, when you make that transition from processed food, even though you might be eating the right amount, to whole foods, meat, fruit, rice, vegetables, potatoes, not all the time, still eat celebratory food celebratorily, right? But you start feeling, your skin starts looking really different and you start sleeping a lot better. You start having way more energy. The inflammation in your body goes down. Your back pain starts to go away. It just seems like life starts going a lot better. And you have this aura that comes off of you and other people recognize that and they want to be around it. People call that skinny privilege. But what skinny privilege actually is just when you get control of your own life, you start acting a little bit different vibration, different energy, and people are attracted to the energy of people that really believe in themselves and are comfortable in their own bodies.
Why do you think most diets or workout plans fall short for most people?
Because they don't address the reason why you became fat in the first place. So no diet is going to save you. You're the only thing that's going to save you. And the way to save yourself is not just to work on your relationship with food, but it's to recognize that your relationship with food and your relationship with yourself are actually directly tied to each other. So the only way to make sustainable change in anything, any addiction, any thing that you might be doing that's not serving you or acting in your own best interest, is to recognize that that pattern is something that needs to be fixed inside. And the best way to get control of your life is to get control of what you're putting into your own body. So the reason why most diets don't work is they don't address the mental aspect. And they're based more on how to lose weight as fast as possible through ultra discipline and ultra restriction. And people don't want to live in that restriction forever. So once they hit their weight loss goal, they're like, great, my diet's over. No, it's not. It's forever. And if you think that it's over, you've already lost. If you're on a diet just to lose weight, you've already lost. You have to find something that you can do for the rest of your life. And that's the difference between, I say, the common sense diet. It's not actually a diet. It's just a framework for how to navigate situations around food.
Right. What do you think is, I know there's no blanket statements for everyone, but what do you think could be like a really big mindset shift that can help someone begin to make that change?
Yeah, why do you want to lose weight is the first question. So anybody listening to this that is fat, why do you want to lose weight? If you take 5 seconds to yourself, if your initial reaction is I want to look better, I want to feel better, when you wake up in the morning and decide to make healthy choices, are you connected enough to I want to look better, I want to feel better, that you're actually going to make healthy choices? No, it's not enough, right? We got to get down to the actual root. So for me, it was going through an exercise of what is my life going to be like in 10 years if I don't lose weight? Okay, well, probably not going to marry the woman I want to marry because I don't feel good about myself and I don't feel worthy. Probably not going to be the father that I want to be because when I'm looking down at my kid, telling him that he can be anything he wants to be, and he's looking up at me and I'm 340 pounds, he's thinking, well, is this what you wanted for yourself? Right? And I became really connected to what might actually happen. Diabetes, high blood pressure medication, feeling like shit, not making the same amount of money, not feeling capable of my own life. And I started running away. So my journey was really negative in the beginning. And through running away, I started connecting more with positivity and running towards something. So then ask yourself the opposite. What if you did lose weight and kept it off and felt comfortable with it and knew you'd keep the weight off with certainty? What would your life be like then? That's what you're running. Then it's different for everybody, right? But you will never keep the weight off if you don't get so clear that your reason for wanting to lose weight is stronger than your desire to eat Domino's pizza.
Yeah, your why has to be more powerful than your addiction.
Absolutely.
I feel that, and I'm thinking about just my own journey. I've never really been fat. However, I was built like Snoop Dogg, and I was really insecure about that. Really insecure about being skinny. So that's kind of why I made the change initially in high school. But there's something about waking up and 4 or 5 days a week doing something that doesn't involve cheap dopamine and pushing yourself. I'd like to lift weights, and it's my meditation,
It's so interesting because people always ask, people think that it takes me a lot of discipline to maintain my results, but it doesn't actually take me any, and I wonder how you relate to this with going to the gym. Does it take you a lot of discipline to go to the gym 4 days a week? It's just it's who you are, right? Yeah. For me, I hated eating healthy food when I started doing it. Now I eat healthy food without thinking about it. And that's because I've changed my baseline habits. That's the switch that you have to make to get rid of what's called food noise, which is the concept of constantly thinking about, I should be losing weight, how many calories are in this, and it consumes your whole mind, makes you uncomfortable in social situations. What are we going to be eating at the party? And you start seeing the world through the lens of your own obesity. When you cure your obesity sustainably, all that noise goes away and you make space for what you actually want to be thinking about. But that only happens when they start becoming default habits. It's like brushing your teeth. Like when you came out of the womb, you didn't even know what a fucking toothbrush was. And then your mom, you got good teeth? Let me see them. Yeah, those are white. You brush your teeth twice a day, right?
Yeah.
But you don't actually want to brush your teeth. It's not something that you look forward to. It's just something that you do that you don't want to do that takes you no discipline. That's what healthy and sustainable lifestyle changes gets you with eating and with exercise.
What do you think is okay? So someone's listening to that and they have they have an unhealthy relationship with food and their mindset. They have an unhealthy relationship with their mindset about food. Typically, how long do you think it takes to make that switch?
It's so dependent. The way that I teach it is to give yourself permission to make the switch right now. We're not doing a 28 days to build a habit bullshit. If you had a healthy relationship with food, what would you eat? Let's eat that right now. Let's give ourselves permission to have a healthy relationship with food right now, or to pretend that we do for 2 days and see what it feels like. And what's tough about weight loss is it takes time to see the results in your body. It doesn't actually take time to see the results in your mind. So when people ask me, how long is it going to take me to feel better about food? It's like sometimes instantly, literally instantly. If you made one good decision with food right now, you would feel better right now. You'd feel more capable right now. And if we go into something thinking it's going to take me 3 months to build this habit, then it is going to take you 3 months to build the habit, but you're probably going to quit before we get to the 3 months. So let's just do it right now. Does that make sense?
Of course, absolutely. Now, I have so much empathy today, though, for people in America specifically, because I think as a child, you don't really have a chance. From the time that you can go to the grocery store and look, that cereal box filled with sugar is eye level. Your parents, that's all they know. All people know these days is processed foods. And so people go down that track and they end up in college, overweight, and addicted to processed foods. What do you think about that in society?
Thank God for that. Thank God for fat people. Thank God that I was fat. Now, the only productive frame, if you are the kind of person that we're talking about right now that grew up eating a bunch of processed food, is thank God that was my story, because now I have an opportunity to practice becoming a different person, and everything, I have the golden ticket. I have the golden ticket to change other people's lives by a visual representation of me changing my own life. Weight loss is the most beautiful thing in the world because, you know, if you're working through any other issue in your life, people can't necessarily see it right away. If you want to have impact, if you want to help other people live better lives and help inspire people, losing weight is the best thing that you can do, because people, you don't even have to say anything. People just see the difference. So thank God you're fat. Thank God I was fat. Thank God we grew up eating processed bullshit, because everything you're looking for in life, all of the lessons on how to look someone in the eye and have real confidence, on how to speak in a way that's clear and tell a story in a way that people even give a damn to think about, all of that capability and self-belief is in the journey of addressing eating healthier foods and feeling better and more in control of your own life.
I want to dive deeper into that. You said, thank God for that. And I can receive that. I can relate. I feel like that does make sense. That reframe gives you more power. So what do you tell the people who say, woe is me? That's, you really going to tell me thank God for this? Like, what are you going to tell those people?
Yes.
Still thank God for that.
Thank God for that.
Yeah.
Thank God for that.
Yeah.
I mean, how would your life have, it's easy when you're fat to be in the mindset of how different your life would have been if you were never fat. You know, would Mary Kate have wanted to marry me 10 years ago if I wasn't fat? Would I have been having better sex with my husband? Would we have had another kid? Would he have thought I was more attractive if I felt better in my own body? These are the kind of things that people say in their heads. We don't like to talk about them because they're uncomfortable, but that's what's actually happening. And when we start getting into the Yeah, but I grew up in a way that, society had me eating a bunch of processed foods. It's like, what does it feel like to say that? So when you're fat and you say, well, the reason why I'm fat is because I was programmed to eat processed foods when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And that's why I still eat processed foods. It's like, what does that feel like? It feels really unenabling. It's like, well, what are you going to do? So much of this comes down to language. And yeah, just the idea of spending so long looking at the way that society is. If you want to have an impact on society, change yourself.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about Ozempic?
Hot topic.
Yeah.
People that take Ozempic or people that take Ozempic or people that get gastric sleeves will lose weight because they won't be thinking about food as much. Their hormones will change and they'll be less hungry. So they will lose weight. And they will keep the weight off if they continue to take Ozempic. When you lose weight on Ozempic, you look in the mirror and you think, thank God Ozempic worked. When you lose weight naturally, you look in the mirror and you think, thank God I worked. Thank God I got control of my life. Thank God I feel so capable, because this is carried over into my career and into my relationships. And I've never believed in myself so much as I do right now. And it's so clear to me that I'm about to go kill it in every single area of life that I've ever wanted. And by taking Ozempic, you rob yourself of that experience. That's the actual beauty of natural weight loss and actually keeping the weight off. It's the most beautiful experience in the world. And it's things that fat people dream about that every night. That actually can be your reality. If you take Ozempic, if you shortcut the one thing that has been plaguing you your whole life, which for an obese person is being fat, right? That was my experience. You will shortcut everything. The way that you handle this one thing is the way that you're going to handle everything emotional in your life. The people that take Ozempic are the same people that when they get sad, they get on antidepressants. When they get anxious, they get on anti-anxiety medication. Look, there's nothing wrong with that. That's just not what I wanted for myself. I wanted to feel capable of living the life that I wanted without having to take shit. And that all being said, there are people that are so overweight that they have pressing medical issues. And there's people that are 400 pounds and, who am I to come on and say, let's work on your relationship with food when you can't walk because your leg is fucked up and going to get amputated from having diabetes, right? If you have a pressing medical issue, it can make sense for those people to get on Ozempic just to put the fire out so we can live to fight another day and figure this out down the road. So I'm not anti-Ozempic or anti-gastric sleeves, but if you don't have a medical issue, I don't see a reason in taking those because you can. If you have what it takes to be an hour into listening to this podcast, you do have what it takes to lose weight naturally.
100%. I agree. And I agree with every point you just made about it. Do you know much about it? Have you done much studying?
Yeah, fair amount. Yeah.
Okay. For me, I definitely agree. If you have a pressing matter, take it. Talk to your doctor, do it. But I don't know. From what I've seen, that there can be side effects that we don't know about in the future. So it can be scary to start taking that. And plus, the studies are so once you stop, you kind of gain the weight back, right? Yeah,
you'll be on Ozempic forever. So people that take Ozempic, they lose weight by going from eating a large French fry at McDonald's to a small French fry at McDonald's because it's less calories. If you do that naturally, you're going to be starving because you'll be in a calorie deficit while still not being properly nourished because you're eating bullshit, right? So people on Ozempic just eat less bullshit, but they never make the transition to eating healthier foods. When you lose weight naturally, the only way to work through cravings is to make the transition to eating more natural food. So you have to address your relationship with food and in turn your relationship with yourself. That's not how it works on Ozempic. So I would have listened to this when I was fat and been like, that's a great reason to take Ozempic, right? Because I can keep eating bullshit. But you're going to still feel like shit even after you lose weight.
Kind of sounds like a glorified anorexia.
Yes, I agree.
So, I know you're a pretty hard-nosed guy. What about the body positivity movement? What do you think about that?
It's a great question. So much of my journey, I felt like I was not enough. And I hated myself and disliked myself into permanent results. And I definitely didn't like my body, but I more deeply didn't like who I was as a person. And I used to look in the mirror and say, I love myself. I love you. You are enough. And I'm 275 pounds, cracked out on Xanax, hating my job, my girlfriend, drinking booze, smoking weed, and playing video games and watching Netflix. Trying to tell myself that I'm enough and trying to find positivity. But the reality is that there was no positivity. And the reality is that I actually wasn't enough in that moment. And I actually didn't love myself. And this idea of telling yourself that you love yourself when you don't is actually creating distrust with yourself. And if you want to permanently change your life, you have to be 100% honest with how you actually feel about yourself. And the truth is that I hated myself. So I reframed I love you, which felt like a lie because it was, into I fucking hate you. But I have an opportunity to start to respect you. I'm looking in the mirror to myself. I have an opportunity to start to respect you by becoming the type of person that I respect. You're not the kind of person that I respect. If you just walked in the room, I don't have respect for you because I can tell you don't respect yourself. So I just got really honest with myself and I framed it in a way that helped me step into positive action. And it took me a long time to learn how to like myself. But over years I did. And it was because I just became really, really capable. And somebody worthy of respect. I built a routine, started developing a life mission. I became the type of person that said I was going to do something and then actually would do the thing. I stopped lying to myself and other people.
Yeah. I just insert David Goggins. Just looking over your shoulder.
Yeah. I mean,
there's a part of there is something beautiful about brutal honesty with yourself, and you're right. If there definitely is a disconnect. If you say you love yourself and you don't actually do, it can't feel good. It cannot feel good. So.
Yeah. So here's the question, right? If you're fat and you say that you love yourself, let's say you do love yourself and you're fat, is it possible that if you got to a healthy body weight, would you live longer and have the opportunity to love yourself for longer? Yes. Let's say that you're fat and you don't love yourself the way that I did. Is it possible that if you were to develop some self-respect and feel more in control of your own life, that you might start to develop some love for yourself? Yes, it's possible. And is it possible that might happen if you were to address your relationship with food and sustainable weight loss? Yes, it is. You can absolutely develop self-love through weight loss. Absolutely. And that's not a popular belief, but that was my reality. And that's the reality of a lot of people that overhaul their life. Sometimes it starts with negativity and it sucks living in the negativity. But when that's the only fuel that you have, it's like, let's just get started. You'll connect with positivity at some point on the journey.
Yeah. I bring up David Goggins because he's just one of the most, like you, his book, Can't Hurt Me, had such an impact on my life. It's just being brutally honest with yourself and being able to see a person that can put himself through the amount of pain that Goggins put himself through is such an inspiration. I'm not saying I'm going to go run 100 miles with my foot broken. However, I know it's possible, you know? So I think that's why I bring up David Goggins.
It is. So
you've helped tons of people actually be successful. I know you said weight loss isn't the goal, but inevitably people are going to lose weight, right?
Of course.
So, tell me about a client's weight loss journey. Somebody that comes to mind that's been really impactful.
Yeah, the recent client of mine, her name is Mari. I've been working with her for maybe 4 or 5 months now. She's lost about 40 pounds. And this is someone that has tried. I only work with people that have lost weight before and gained it back.
Really?
Yeah. So, but that's actually everyone that's fat, but only people that can speak to what they've done in the past. And Mari is somebody that at the time was 80 pounds overweight, maybe a little bit more, and had tried every single thing that had ever existed and always quit within a month of doing something. So in working with her, one of the biggest things that we did was helped her reframe and have conversations around not dieting and instead prioritizing her health. So she's become a leader in her house of helping her husband and leading her husband and also leading her children and making better decisions around food in a way that doesn't suck and in a way that doesn't feel like she's forcing a diet on anybody. So the coolest thing about working with her has been the way that she's been navigating her family dynamics and like literally breaking generational obesity, literally being the person in your bloodline that decides they're not going to pass this down. Because there's this reality that like, if you're fat, your kids are going to be fat. If you and your partner are fat, your kid is going to be fat. Maybe not right now, but they will. So that's what I love the most is when my clients can really speak to the impact that they're having on the people around them.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. Breaking generational curses. Yeah, what do you think about childhood obesity overall, just in general?
Man, the first thing that comes to my mind, I used to go to Golden Corral a lot. You know, Golden Corral?
100%.
Like,
I used to love it. I absolutely hate it now, man. For something, my taste buds must have changed, bro. It does not taste the same to me.
I haven't been back in years, but I used to get the Hush Puppies, get like full plate of those things, chocolate fountain, right? And the last time I went, it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And there's this kid who's maybe 8 or 9, and he's got his gut is hanging out under his shirt. And on the front of the shirt, it says fitness ? He's like 8. On the back of the shirt, it says more like fitting this whole pizza in my mouth. And I was like, that is, and I'm laughing. Going,
that is America.
It's actually really sad though, you know, but I can't, like, how do you not laugh? Right. Like it's humorous, but it's sad. A lot of the reason why we're passing obesity down is because we don't actually know. So there's this misconception that people know what they should be doing. It's like everybody knows how to lose weight, but most people have never even thought of the idea of what it takes to actually become a healthy person, meaning keep the weight off and change your lifestyle, change your relationship with food, address the issues that led to your obesity, your childhood traumas in the first place. People don't typically think about that. In this bubble in Austin that we live in, people do. But the mother out in Round Rock isn't thinking in that way. She's thinking, I want to lose 15 pounds before New Year's. And that's not the same thing, right? So how I feel about childhood obesity is that the best way to cure obesity for your children is to cure obesity in yourself.
Going back to families and parents, if you're a busy professional or like a working parent, how do you make that change while still feeling like you don't have enough time?
Yeah, it doesn't take any more time to lose weight sustainably than it does for you to stay the same way or to gain it. So it's a massive misconception. It doesn't take you any more time. You're eating the same 5 to 10 meals on repeat right now. Everyone is. If you actually wrote down what you eat, 80% of what most people eat, unless you work a travel job or something, is like, it might be bullshit, but it's like McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, frozen pizza, ice cream, and then I have a salad. And then you have like, there's less than 10 things that you regularly eat. So the concept is not to just stop eating everything entirely if you don't have time. It's to make the things that you eat more whole, real, and natural. So part of the common sense diet is let's standardize on 5 to 10 go-to meals that you can make in less than 10 minutes so that I don't have time goes out the window. Stop cooking your chicken, start getting rotisserie chicken. Stop cooking your vegetables, start getting microwave vegetables. Stop cutting your fruit, start getting frozen fruit. It's like all these, you're going to shave off so much time. And I never, ever, ever cook a meal that takes me longer than 10 minutes to make. I haven't in years. Not one time.
Can you tell me some of those? Or is that
yes.
okay.
Go-to breakfast.
Yeah.
Non-fat Greek yogurt bowl, frozen blueberries, honey, creatine, a little bit of protein powder.
Okay.
Tastes like ice cream. You want to work through ice cream cravings? Eat that every single day for breakfast. I haven't had ice cream in 6 months. No problem. Don't even think about it anymore.
Okay.
Go to lunch, deli chicken, 1 to 2 ounces of deli cheese, 2 hard-boiled eggs, an apple, and an orange. You just make an adult Lunchable. Takes you like 3 minutes to put together. All whole, real, natural foods. You got great natural sugar in there, lots of fat, lots of protein, natural carbs. Amazing meal. 3 minutes, right? Go to dinner, beef stir fry. Cook 2 pounds at a time. It's going to take you about 10 minutes to cook the beef. Cook it in onions with some ghee, and then use microwaved rice. Instead of having to cook your own rice, it's just time consuming. The cleanup sucks. Microwave the rice, make 2 pounds at a time, take a half pound out, and then just throw it on the stovetop for 3 minutes to reheat it when you're ready. Never spend more than 10 minutes preparing a meal. Use the dishwasher instead of your dishes. Instead of all these things, it doesn't take you any more time. It takes a little more time than getting McDonald's. It does, right? But how long are you in the McDonald's drive-thru for? Get your groceries delivered instead of going to the grocery store. You're going to save more time. Cook a couple days at a time when you can, or just get things that don't require meal prep. None of those meals require any prep besides maybe the beef for 8 or 9 minutes.
Are you an ingredients guy?
I am an ingredients guy. Yeah. You meaning like organic and
like are you reading the ingredient labels?
Yes. Yeah. So I am. I don't teach obsessiveness in that way to my clients. So often people are trying to be as healthy as they can in things that aren't actually having a massive impact on their life. So this idea of moving from, normal fruit to organic fruit. It's like, should I be getting organic fruit? It's like, no, we should just stop drinking Coca-Cola first. It's like people, they kind of get ahead of themselves, right? So I'm not here to teach people how to eat the perfect clean diet. I'm here to help people get to baseline health first. I'm going to get you good. Right. If you want to get great, that's awesome, but we're not going for perfection. Personally, for myself, I'm so interested in the topic because it's been so impactful in my life that I eat extremely naturally sourced ingredients, all organic grass-fed meat, but it's not going to impact your weight if you eat non-grass-fed meat versus grass-fed meat.
Right, and it's one of those, you got to start somewhere.
Start somewhere, yeah.
And then from there, you're like, dang, I feel good. Can I feel better? Okay, maybe I'll start getting organic. Maybe I'll start doing.
Great question to ask yourself if you don't know what to eat when you're in a social situation. Instead of even looking at the ingredient label, is how are you going to feel 30 minutes after you eat the thing? That's really all. You'll recognize that when you just bring a little bit of mindfulness into what you put into your body actually already knows what is good for you and what isn't without you looking at the ingredient label. So how am I going to feel after eating a breakfast of Cocoa Puffs? Like, I'm probably a little tired. How am I going to feel after eating that Greek yogurt breakfast with fruit and honey? I'm going to forget I even ate it in 2 hours. I'm going to be kind of satiated, but I'm not going to have cravings. I'm not going to have a crash. I'm not going to be hungry. I'm going to feel like my stomach's not going to hurt. When you can just connect with how you're going to feel afterwards and eat more of those foods, your whole relationship with food is going to change in 3 days. Right. Immediately, that frame will help so much.
Right. Have you heard of yucca?
No. What's yucca?
Oh, man. I think this might be something that can be a game changer. I'll let you do your research before you offer it to your clients, or if you do or not. But it's an app. And basically, it's changed my life. And this is from someone who's already, for the most part, I eat healthy. Healthy whole foods. So yucca it's an app on your phone. You can take it with you to the grocery store, and you can just scan any product, and it gives it a score from 1 to 100, and it'll let you know what kind of potentially harmful additives are in that product. Now, again, I said I eat pretty healthy. I didn't know I was eating certain things that had very harmful chemicals in them. And I've been dealing with skin issues, and I did not know why. I've been dealing with what is it? Seborrheic dermatitis from my hair. When I tell you, when I started removing some of these products that had these chemicals in them,
it started to fix itself,
dude. So it's something I would really recommend. And I'm not sponsored by them in any way, shape, or form.
How much are they paying you,
bro? I'm not even a guy who's like, yeah, buy my workout program. Like I don't do any of that. But I've recently been using it the past month and a half, and when you're talking about optimizing and like when you're already like eating pretty good, I've never been the type that when I see the ingredient label, I'm like, that's too long. It looks healthy, and they market it as healthy, so I think it's healthy. And I've realized that just because something is marketed a certain way doesn't mean it is.
There's really not that many instances where you need to eat food that has more than one ingredient. So every food I just took you through doesn't actually even need an ingredient label, because when you look at it, you know what it is.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
It's like it's easy for us in Western society to be like, what are the 12 ingredients in here? But I'm more like, why are we eating things that have 12 ingredients in them in the first place?
Yeah. So what I'm talking about with this stuff where I thought it was healthy would be like the Quest pizza.
Right.
Oh, it's got protein. It's got it's low in carbs. But it's also got carcinogens in it that's going to mess you up over time.
Right.
And what I think is the issue with things like that, it's like, yo, if I want to eat a Quest pizza, I'll eat a Quest pizza.
Yeah.
But if everything you pick up has these same things in it, that's when it starts to affect your health.
What do you think healthy means? Like when you think, is a food healthy or not healthy, what does that mean to you?
What do I think it means? If it does what it's intended to do, nourish your body.
Yeah, because that's where a lot of the disconnect is for people on their weight loss journey specifically, is like, well, this protein bar is healthy because it's 120 calories and 14 grams of protein. It's like, right, but beef jerky has the same macros. In like my frame, what I really teach in terms of what is healthy is, does it look like something that maybe could have occurred in nature almost? If so, then people have probably been eating some version of this for some time. But that being said, eat mom's apple pie. When you want a Quest pizza, eat a Quest pizza, right? 100%. The question becomes, and for anyone listening to this that is struggling with relationship with food, one of the best questions you can ask yourself is, why am I eating this food? So not, is this healthy or is this unhealthy, but why am I eating this? Am I eating this Quest pizza because, like, oh, I just like it, and I'm sad, and the pizza's going to help me with my sadness, because I'll feel better after I eat the pizza, right? So there's that. Or is it like, I just want to eat the Quest pizza just because, and it's not a big deal? And those are two different things, right? It's a great question that anybody can ask themselves when they're addressing anything food related. Why am I eating this food, and how am I going to feel after I eat it?
100%. Hey, my guilty pleasure is Lunchables. I don't eat them that often, but I'll eat them sometimes.
Man, you know what my guilty pleasure is?
What's that?
Dates.
Dates?
Yes, I like the fruit, the little caramel fruit things.
Yeah.
I rarely overeat. When I overeat, it's on dates, like the fruits. They taste like caramel. They remind me of the Rolos that were smeared on my chest hair when I was fat as fuck. It's so good, man.
Yeah, well, good. They're typically pretty good for you, right? They have a lot of fiber.
They're good for you, but you can really overdo it with the dates sometimes. Yeah, but if you look right before a workout, take 3 or 4 dates. You take 3 or 4 dates, you pop them there. You just get intense sugar rush. It's all good sugar, but you can't overdo it.
Okay, I feel like that would make me use the restroom, to be honest. Okay, man. Wait, how far are we? Okay. Do you have any time restrictions or anything?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay. Why do you think it's essential to focus on lifestyle changes rather than quick fixes?
Because nobody actually wants to lose weight. Everybody actually wants to keep the weight off. People say they want to lose weight, but it's not actually that they want to lose weight. It's that they don't want to have to think about being fat anymore. And if you go for a quick fix, you will be still thinking about being fat, because you actually inherently know, if you just pause and breathe, that you will not be able to do this forever the way you're doing it. So a quick fix might be a juice cleanse, it might be a 7-day fast, it might be 2 months on Weight Watchers. But you actually know, if I was to just ask you, or you were to ask yourself in the mirror, can I do this forever? Will this result in permanent change? That the answer is no. And that what you actually desire is to not have to think about being fat anymore. But all of these things are actually designed for you to just continuously be stuck in the loop of starting over and over and over again. So the people that resonate the most with my message are the people that have already done that on every single thing that anyone's ever heard of.
Who are your people?
They vary so much. Yeah, so much in range, and men and women. There's really no... The only commonality is that they've lost a drastic amount of weight and gained it back multiple times.
Why do you think those people? I guess they're drawn to you because they've seen that you've done it. They're drawn to your story.
Well, and they know that the way you lose weight dictates how sustainable your results are. That's the piece that everybody misses. The reason why you shouldn't do a quick fix is because the way you lose weight dictates how sustainable your results are, and you've already tried quick fixes before. So what's going to be different about this quick fix? Like realistically, nothing. But we get high on the feeling of making progress. The best high of weight loss is when the scale goes down. It's not because losing 2 pounds in a week makes you really look different. It's just because we feel like we're making progress towards something. And that feeling of making progress feels better than the feeling of knowing the progress will be forever most of the time, because the forever progress is slower. So losing 3 pounds in a week, but maybe gaining it back, it feels better in the short term than losing 1 pound a week, but knowing that you're actually changing who you are in the process.
So for the people that you have helped, are there any of them that have been inspired to start helping others like you?
Within my own community, yeah. So I manage a coaching program. I coach one-on-one, and then I also coach a group. So my group has maybe 65 people in it right now. Some of them work with me one-on-one. Some of them just work with the group. And there are people that have gravitated towards helping each other through the process. So there's people that have been in the program and in the group for half a year that gravitate towards really being there and being reliable and helping hold the new people accountable. And that's awesome to witness, because they say that we teach the things that we need the most, which is actually why I teach what I teach. And the frame that I've adopted for myself is, how can I become the person in the world that I really needed? And what I really needed was somebody to come out and be like, you don't have to exist in a discipline of dieting for the rest of your life. You don't have to be all or nothing for the rest of your life. I'm really intense and really scheduled and really disciplined in all areas, in my business, in my coaching, in my relationships, in my brotherhood with other men, but I'm not intense with food. I'm chill with food. It's like food doesn't own me anymore. I don't live in the insecurity of food. I don't walk into a situation at a pizza place and be like, fuck, what am I going to get? I'm going to get a piece of pizza and I'm just going to eat one. And I'm fine knowing that I can, because I practiced for so long that I'm not uncomfortable anymore.
How has community played a role specifically to help people lose the weight?
Everyone thinks they're the only one. Everyone thinks that they're the only one that, when you go to Olive Garden and the breadsticks come out on the table, but you're trying to lose weight and you can't figure out why you're so uncomfortable, because should you not have any breadsticks, or are you going to have 3? People don't talk about that kind of stuff. Fat people in person don't talk to each other about sustainable weight loss. When I was fat, me and my other fat friends would laugh and drink beer and be like, we're the fat guys. We should lose some weight. You want to go on a diet this summer? It's not like an actual, like, what are we going to do to change who we are and make permanent lifestyle changes? So the community that I've built has allowed people to share sides of themselves that they've never shared with the people closest to them in person, in their real lives, that they've never shared with anyone, because they didn't know that other people were struggling with it. And that's why so many people resonate with my message, because I've billboarded the parts of my life that I was so insecure about, and have enabled other people and made other people feel comfortable to do the same thing.
Vulnerability inspires vulnerability. Vulnerability inspires change. So for the people, it's, what is it, November 26th right now? New Year, New Me's coming up.
New Year, New Me.
What could you tell someone who's because there's inevitably going to be people who are going to say, this year, I'm going to do it. What kind of advice could you give people who are thinking, New Year, New Me?
Yeah, no, you're not. No, you're not. You'll never start on the first of the month or Monday or the start of the year. You're just not going to. My rules for my clients are we can't start on Mondays, we don't start on the first of the month, and we don't start on the first of the year because we've already done that over and over again. The only way that you're going to make a lasting change is if you exist in something that is sustainable for you. This idea that you're going to go keto starting January 1st is just not going to happen. You're going to wake up hungover at like 11 o'clock in the morning on January 1st and be like, oh, we'll start on January 2nd. You know? And that's just the reality. Let's get really, really honest with ourselves and ask yourself, how would you feel if you didn't have to think about being fat? If you lost weight, if you're a man listening to this, if you woke up tomorrow and you were a healthy body weight and you knew you would never gain the weight back or have to think about or obsess about weight loss or feel insecure about your own body because you took control of it ever again, how different would your life be? How different would your wife look at you with just a little bit more of a sparkle in her eye, knowing that you are the man that she married? How different would your kids respond to you because you command a little more respect in the room because you clearly mean what you say and embody that and they feel that energy and that vibration on you? Like, how different would your life be? Why are you going to wait 5 weeks to start pursuing that? Like, why? Like, you're not going to. You're not, because if you're waiting till January 1st, you don't actually, you want it, but you don't want it. Mm-hmm. You know, like I want to be a professional guitar player, but I don't want to be a professional guitar player enough to actually put in the time to be a professional guitar player. But like, if I could click a button and do it, I would. I just don't want to enough to do it right now. And that's where most people are at with weight loss. So you'll never, very few people succeed on their New Year's resolutions. My recommendation, if you're thinking you're going to wait until January 1st, is just start right now and let it be simple. Come back to simplicity and common sense. Get on the scale, take a really fat before picture, naked, don't show anybody, and make a healthy food decision after you're done listening to this podcast. Don't even wait until tomorrow morning. If you don't have healthy groceries, go get some better groceries from the store right now, tonight. Don't wait until tomorrow, and then make a healthy breakfast tomorrow and just see what that feels like. And then look at the holidays as an opportunity to practice not overeating. Go into Thanksgiving dinner or breakfast or whatever and practice eating a normal portion size of potatoes and 1 scoop of stuffing instead of 3 and 1 piece of mom's apple pie instead of 4, and sit with the discomfort of wanting more. Literally go look at yourself in the mirror in the bathroom and say, I give myself permission to look at this as an opportunity to practice. You do that one time. Like, you ask how long does it take for people to have a healthier relationship with food? It's instant, because most people have never done that one time. Most fat people exist in overeating or undereating always. They've sometimes never had a single day where they just ate normal portions of food, and they're disconnected from what even knowing a normal portion of food is. Do it one time, and the holidays are a great opportunity to practice.
That makes so much sense. I never thought about it that way. Most fat people overeat or undereat.
Every day.
Holy shit.
Every single day. They've never been in a homeostasis point ever, like for years.
Wow. I had a lightning moment. Hopefully someone else does. And I hope somebody, like you said, does listen to this and go make a change. Now, you did bring up, you said, how good would it feel for your wife to look at you with that sparkle in their eye again? So couples, how could couples help each other keep the weight off?
Set some goals around sex. It's something that people don't like to talk about. How different sex is after you lose weight. Not just because you feel better, but because of the literal physiology of your body being different. And if you're somebody that is in a relationship and you're both overweight, like, to sit down with each other and be like, what is our sex life like right now? And it's uncomfortable. It's especially going to be uncomfortable to have this conversation if you're a man and you're leading your partner into this conversation. Hey, honey, how often are we having sex right now? Maybe never. A lot of people never, right? Maybe 1 time per week, right? Like, ideally, how many times per week would you like to have sex? Like, I'm like every day, 3-4 times a week. Like, let's set a goal, right? And let's tie this goal to us feeling better about ourselves. And let's start feeling better about ourselves by making healthier decisions, not just because our bodies are going to change and we will feel more physically attracted to ourselves, but also just because we could do this. We're going to make it a big thing, right? Imagine a weight loss program that was all geared towards having a better sex life.
Creative.
I mean, it's
creative.
Yeah, it's just it's so, and people don't want to talk about it, right? Yeah. But the reality from a guy's perspective, here's the real shit on losing weight and sex. If you are not having the sex that you want to have with your partner, which most people are not, either way, whether they're fat or not, right? Or you're just not having the frequency of sex that you want in your partnership, through losing weight, you are going to last substantially longer in the bedroom. You're going to be way less sweaty. You're not going to be so tired that you don't want to do it. You're going to feel more secure in your own body. Your sex drive is going to be higher because your testosterone levels are going to be higher from eating more whole, real, natural foods. All of these things. When you have a better sex life, you feel better about yourself and you feel more connected to your partner. So having conversations like that with your partnership and then making commitments to your partner, not expecting a commitment back from them, but hey, I love you. And I recognize that I'm not holding up my end of the deal in our sexual relationship. And I'm going to get this in order by working on myself. And I'm going to get control of my life and build my confidence through losing weight sustainably. Would you support me in that? Here's how you can support me in that specifically. And it would mean a lot to me. I love you.
I love that.
And to my future wife listening to this podcast right now, message me on Instagram, baby. I'm right here.
Hey, the DM's gonna start flooding in, man. I got a pretty heavy female focused audience. I love it, man. Let's talk about mindset. And you've really cut down, or you've really dove down on mindset, on how that's such a big part about. Changing that part, just losing the weight. When you approach a client who is stuck in a negative mindset or a negative feedback loop, how do you help get them out of it?
Well,
when it comes to losing weight?
Yeah, it's very situational. It depends on what that negative mindset looks like. Typically, the mindset comes from extreme limiting beliefs. So ones that I get all the time. I'm turning 30 in a couple weeks. I'm 29, and I work with women in their 60s regularly. And their initial thoughts and the conversations that they have with me is, yeah, well, it's easier. It was easier for you because you are a guy and I'm a woman. It's easier for you because you are 40 years younger than me to lose weight, and I'm a postmenopausal 67-year-old woman, Nick, and that's not the same thing. And that is a negative mind. There's all different versions of that, right? I'm too old. I've already tried this before. I come from a fat family. All of these things might actually be true. Limiting beliefs aren't necessarily lies, right? It was definitely easier for me to lose weight as a 24-year-old man than it is for a 67-year-old woman, right? But it's about coming back to positive language and literally recording yourself. Say it. So if you're someone that feels like it's too late, right, to say out loud, I feel like I've wasted a lot of my life and that I'm too late and that I'm too old to lose weight. I feel like it's harder for women to lose weight than men, and that it's hard for me because I'm a woman. I choose to give myself permission to let it be harder for me because this isn't a competition. I'm not competing against anyone. I'm not even competing with myself. I'm just taking control of my life using common sense and simplicity, and it doesn't matter how old I am. If it's going to take me a month longer because I waited 40 years to figure it out, then I'm willing to do that. So that's how we can reframe negativity into, like, how much better does that feel when you say it, right? And that combined with really videoing yourself when you're having a tough time. So part of what I did when I was losing weight was I videoed myself every day, talking about what I was going through, and I coached myself through it by looking at my own life from a third-party perspective. So if this was a video of someone else, what would I advise this guy to do? And what you'll find is that you actually probably know more than you think about sustainable weight loss, even if you're fat, right? When you record yourself in those moments of I can't, I'm so negative, the food controls me, I only lost 0.3 pounds this week instead of 1.7, or like all these things that come up. It doesn't feel like enough. When you just video it and then watch the video, it's the most freeing thing ever, because you recognize how all of these negative thoughts aren't actually serving you, and most of the time aren't even true. So any negative feedback loop that you're in, whether it's around weight loss or something else, the beauty of all of these lessons is that they apply to every single thing in life. So that's why I say weight loss is the ultimate teacher. The reason why natural weight loss is so beautiful for me and for the people that I work with is because you learn these lessons in your career and your relationships as well. But anytime you're in a negative feedback loop, to speak it to the camera and then watch it, you go, oh, okay, that's something I could definitely work through. And it really frees you from the thought.
Wow.
But that takes mindfulness to even have the memory to do that.
Right.
Because when you're in a really negative feedback loop, you're not always going, let me get my phone out and video it. You're just like, fuck me, right?
Yeah.
But that's the practice. Bring 1 second of mindfulness into that negative moment. Feel the negativity.
Yeah.
Don't lie to yourself. You are 67 postmenopausal. That does make it harder. And you can do hard things because you've already done hard things, like graduated from high school by showing up every day even when you didn't want to. It takes way more effort than losing weight. Right. And we all did it.
And I think it's it doesn't matter who the person is, what situation they're in, or whether they're a 20-year-old, a 40-year-old, 50, 60, 70-year-old. Because of the internet, you can look at someone who's done it for inspiration. And you know it's possible. It's kind of like the person who ran the first mile under the 4 minutes.
And then everyone started running.
Everyone started doing it.
Now every major high school in the country has a senior boy who can run a sub 4 mile, like every single one. There's thousands of them in the U.S.
Insanity.
And that wasn't a thing 50 years ago, right?
Yeah.
It's not because we're genetically different or training different than we were 50 years ago. It's just you broke through that mental barrier. So yeah, but one of the best things you can do, here's the reality of the weight loss industry though. 90% of the weight loss advice comes from people that were never fat. 9% of the weight loss advice comes from people that are losing weight right now. And over 90% of the people that lose weight gain the weight back. So that's like the equivalent of me teaching weight loss while I was losing weight in that cycle, teaching things that were unsustainable for me and for most people, but not everyone, right? 1% of the weight loss advice comes from people that have kept the weight off for multiple years. And I'm fortunate that that's the category that I fall into. But even in meeting with and connecting with other people that have had the same tangible results, most of those people even still are living restrictive diets, and they're still keto. They're still carnivore. They're not coming out to my birthday because we're going to a restaurant that's got bread and we're drinking wine and whiskey on my birthday. Like it, so it's like it just, they're still kind of slaves to the thing that they've optimized for. And that's the lifestyle that they've chose. It's just not what I wanted for myself. Yeah. So my recommendation would be to look for someone. There are other people. It's not just me, but to find someone that has done it the way that you want to, with the freedom that you actually want, and then look at what they actually did. Can you do that? Yes or no? What can you do that they did? What can't you do that they did? Can we make adjustment? And just get really like yes or no questions. Are you willing to do that? Yeah. What would that feel like if you did that? What's it going to feel like if you don't do that?
What do you do these days? So I understand you eat single 2-ingredient foods. As far as the actual physical part, what are you doing these days?
For working out?
For working out, yeah.
I walk 10 minutes a day first thing in the morning, 7 days a week. And I do full body lifts for about 30 minutes 3 times a week. And then I sauna cold plunge most days.
Oh, that's pretty chill.
Yeah. And it's fun. I go and I'll do off days. I'll do 100 push-ups in the morning.
Yeah.
And that's it. I'm really non-obsessive. My goal is not to put on a ton of muscle, be a bodybuilder, or to lose more weight. But it's interesting because, gosh, my goal for this year, I got really skinny when I was running. I got down to about 155 pounds from about 275.
It's usually the runner's body.
Yeah. So my goal this year was to get up to 170, and I hit that last month. And I just did it by eating a lot more. For a long time, I was doing just meat and fruit, and then eating celebratory foods celebratorily. But I added creatine and rice into my diet, and just those 2 things, I've gained like 14 or 15 pounds in the last year. Like my shirts fit better. I feel in a way I never have. I feel amazing. My testosterone levels Are you much into blood work and hormones?
I haven't done it, but I want to.
Oh, man.
I want to.
So when I got mine tested right before I lost weight in 2019, maybe it was 2018.
Okay.
And I was 245, I think nanograms per deciliter is the metric, which is below the unhealthy range in the US. And the US range is already low because it's the United States, right? Our metrics are low on everything. Okay. Or the expectation of health is low. And I was like below the lowest range as a 24-year-old. And I just got tested again for the first time 3 months ago and was 750. So I over tripled my testosterone levels fully naturally just through healthy eating, sunlight, and like moving my body every day. For some days for 10 minutes, right? It's not like I'm doing these intense workouts. I haven't ran in a year and in almost 2 years. Yeah. And I do no intensive cardio. I'm doing very little like intensive lifting. Mm-hmm. I'm going into the gym being like, man, I'm here because I want to be here, not because I need to be. And it lights me up. And I'm doing some push-ups, doing some pull-ups, doing some squats, and doing cycles for 30 minutes, and that's it. And I leave feeling really, really refreshed and really non-obsessive. I'm so non-obsessive about my fitness. It feels really sustainable for me.
I receive that, and I feel like that's the place where a lot of people are. So. Mm-hmm. What do you think about steroids?
The question becomes, why are you taking steroids? All right, so if you're thinking about taking steroids, take yourself through this same exercise. Mm-hmm. Actually do this with every single thing in your life. Who do you want to be? If you don't know who you want to be, lock yourself in a room until you know. It'll take you about 15 minutes if you don't have a phone. You have no idea. If you sit in a room for 15 minutes with no phone, you'll figure out who you want to be so much quicker than you think that you will. Once you have that visual of yourself, how do you walk? How do you talk? How do other people treat you? How do you treat other people? And then every single decision that you make, is this going to help me embody the person that I want to be right now? Not help me get to the version, but recognize that the version's actually already inside of you. So fat people think that they're going to lose weight and then they're going to become healthy. They have it backwards. You actually have to become healthy to lose weight. That reframe helps you bring the future you into the present tense. What would a healthy person do? So for me, 2025, I'm calling in being a guest on Joe Rogan's podcast. So that's great. How would I walk into this podcast today as if I had already been on Joe Rogan's podcast? I would walk in with confidence. I'd wear a shirt that probably would button it up one more, But I would come on and I would just be my authentic self and just speak from the soul. So I'm practicing here with the intention of embodying the energy of I'd already done the thing that I wanted. Mm. So picture that version of yourself. Do steroids align with helping you become that version of yourself? I want to be muscular. Why do you want to be muscular? I want to be muscular so that I feel better. Will steroids actually make you feel better, or will they just make you be more muscular? Will you feel better if you build the muscle naturally versus steroids? Can you do that? Has anybody else done it? How did they do it? Are you willing to do that? You just go through the exercise every single time and it becomes automatic. So it's not like I sit down and think about this now. It's just built into how I make decisions.
Right. So it's actually sitting with yourself and breaking down why, which no one does.
Yeah, what? This is the only
we get told why we want to do something.
Yes. You just, with every decision, why am I doing this? Yeah. Why am I doing this? And then it becomes a habit really quick and just becomes second nature.
When you get on Joe Rogan, tell him you got a boy.
I will.
Sacred Thomas, who runs a podcast.
I got you. We'll get him on here, man.
Who might be good to interview.
We'll get him on here.
I could see you on there, man.
I appreciate
could definitely see you on there. And your story is just so inspirational. Is there anything that I didn't bring up that you'd like to talk about? I know you had a quick 30-minute monologue at the beginning, and you have a super impactful story. But is there anything that that you did not touch on that you would have liked to?
Yeah, one of the most impactful thing for me. I'm not concerned with weight loss. I'm not even interested in weight loss. I'm just interested in sustainable changes and improvement over time. Weight loss is the means that I teach my actual passion, which is consciousness and figuring out why we are here as individuals on this planet. The reality is that whatever thing you're really struggling with, but not fully addressing the way that you know that you can, if you never address the thing, you'll always think about it. And in thinking about the thing, you'll never actually fully tap into or give your fullest energy to why you are here on this planet. So for me, I used to have this war of like the fat mind versus the skinny mind. It started with a war of me and my friends on video games, and then it was a war of our fraternity versus the other fraternities in college, and then it was the war of me versus myself with running, right? Then it became the war of me comparing myself to everybody after I lost weight. And I've just constantly been at war my whole life. And I'm wired for that. But now I choose to serve in the war on consciousness. And my real actual passion is in helping people wake up through weight loss and coming to terms with who they are and what they really care about. But that language doesn't resonate with my audience. So it's not the language that I typically use on social media, but that applies to every single thing, anything that you're avoiding. The answer is always in the thing that you're avoiding. And if you don't address the thing that you're avoiding, you will always wonder what would have happened should you have.
Such an amazing hook into that. Like your hook is weight loss. And that's going to get to capture their attention into what the real important thing is.
Yeah.
And it's changing
Yeah.
your mindset.
One of the biggest things for me has been the literal words that I say to myself. So I used to never speak to myself. Now I look like a sociopath walking back and forth in my apartment talking all the time, right? But the biggest thing for me has been a morning mantra. So I imagine there's people listening to this podcast that, your audience probably isn't morbidly obese, most of them. For all those people that are like, how does this relate to my life? Something that you can do to really better your life is just have something that you say to yourself when you wake up. So for me, I get out of bed. It's long, but this has changed my entire life. I sit up out of bed before my feet even hit the floor. I say, I choose a big life. I choose positive impact and influence. I choose legacy, to be remembered as someone who didn't quit, someone who always told the truth. I choose true financial and locational freedom. I choose magic and adventure. I choose irrational positivity. And everything I choose is already inside of me. It's not to be achieved. It's already inside of me, and I can embody it right now. I deserve unconditional love. I have love for myself, and I receive love from the world with open arms. I have nothing to prove because I know who I am, the champion. And you say that, and you get out of the bed, and it's like the last thing you're going to do is eat a fucking McDonald's cinnamon roll. You're going to get up and get after whatever it is, right? And you say that again and again and again, and it starts changing the way that you move, speak, walk, talk, and then things just start happening to you. And then you meet a woman, and then you get a promotion at work, and then you start blowing up on social media, and then you start having impact on other people's lives. And everyone says it's right place, right time. Oh, luck, right place, right time. Well, but you know to your core that all these things are actually happening because you addressed the thing that you were not willing to address for your whole life. And it gives me chills even saying that, but that's the truth. And you took control of who you really are.
If I think back, out of the last 7 podcasts I've done, I think either 6 out of 7, maybe all 7, have talked about that exact thing. Mm-hmm. And everyone has benefited from it in some different way, shape, or form. Manifestation. So for the people listening, you got to change the way you talk to yourself, and it really can change your life.
It does.
So I salute that 100%. And even Drew, I don't know if you listened to the podcast that I did with him. Drew Haas, he's the guy who won Outlast season 2. He won $1 million or $500,000 between 2 people. He manifests
times minus 40% for taxes.
I know, right? Hey,
that 500 became 300 real quick.
he was real negative in his account. So listen, it's a win. A win's a win. No, but my point is, he went into detail on that podcast on how he manifested that moment before it even happened in detail. And he got chills on the podcast talking about how he got into manifestation. And then before you knew it, with action, of course, just things just started turning in his life differently. And then before you knew it, he was on the show. Before you knew it, he had the first pick on the show in terms of who to bring on his team. He ended up winning with that guy. All of it to winning that whole damn thing. So for all my listeners, where can they find you online?
You can find me on Instagram. It's Nick, GeoPpo, and all my links are on there.
Awesome. You're not on TikTok? You're a TikTok hater?
I'm on TikTok too, but I don't have anything against TikTok. I'm primarily focused on Instagram and my own podcast as well.
Okay.
But TikTok isn't a big focus for me.
Okay. Well, I'll link all your stuff in the video. But this is my last question, man. When it's all said and done, what do you want to be your legacy?
The guy that broke generational divorce, poverty, and addiction for my own bloodline. And I want my legacy to be, and I'm so connected to my future children and my future grandchildren and my future wife, though I haven't met her. I want my legacy, and my legacy is, right now, I choose my legacy to be one of someone that always told the truth and all those things I went through with the mantra, but someone that really, really, really knew why they were here and committed to having positive impact and committed to being true to who they actually are.
Love that. You can sense the passion. It's been so good, man. I appreciate having you on.
Love the opportunity, man. This room is beautiful. Great job in setting this up, and I really enjoyed the conversation.
I appreciate that, man. Till next time.
Till next time, my guy.
This is the Sacred Thomas Podcast.